So do your pull-ups look a bit like this? Or maybe a bit like this? Or maybe you can already do a few pull-ups with decent form, but you just want to know how to take it to that next level. I've got you covered. Section 1, setup mistakes. There are definitely a few really common mistakes when it comes to learning how to do pull-ups in the gym. The major mistake that people actually make is failing to realize just how many muscles are working during the pull-up. It's often assumed that just because you can do a decent weight on, say, a lat pull-down machine, or you can bicep curl quite a lot, that you should be able to do pull-ups, but nothing could be further from the truth. We actually look at EMG studies where we're measuring the amount of muscle activation in different muscles. You can see that there's far more activation in your core muscles than you probably realize. So we know then that engaging your core and creating as much stability in this area as we can is really going to assist your pull-ups. So let's go through some basic setup. First thing you want to do is ideally to get a box or something where you can set up your hands more easily than having to jump up at a pull-up bar. So we really want to grab the pull-up bar at a just outside shoulder width grip. We don't want to go too wide, and nor do we want to come too narrow, because that's just going to make the whole thing a little bit harder. Once you've got that hand position set, you can then bring the legs down in front of your box, and you can actually initially use this box to help to stabilize your legs. The next thing you want to do is create more tension through your chest and your hands. So we actually want to think about pulling the bar or pulling the hands closer together on the bar. And what that's going to do is it's not only going to bring your elbows slightly forward, which we want, it's also going to create more activation through your chest as well. It's a really common mistake actually when people try to bring their elbows too far back. So once we have this setup position, we have some tension through the hands. We also want to think about tension through your core. So we're actually going to have you bring your feet just a little bit away from the box that you had your feet on earlier. So we actually want to create almost like what we call this hollow hold position. Next then, the goal is to initiate the pull-up. And most people think this comes from the arms, but in actual fact, we want to initiate the pull-up by pulling from the shoulder blades, from the scapula. So you should be able to see from this demonstration that my shoulder blades actually move a little bit before my arms. In terms of your breathing here, I always find it best, in order to help to maintain the tension that you've created, is to take a nice belly breath at the bottom, brace the abs, and as you initiate, you'll start to pull. Once you get through the sticking point, the hardest part of the lift, then you can exhale. You can inhale on the next rep on the way back down, hold the breath again. As you pull through the sticking point, you can exhale. Okay, so what happens if you've corrected all those mistakes and you still can't do a pull-up? Well, there are definitely some easy modifications you can make to allow you to still perform good pull-ups. Most of the time, people tend to gravitate towards an assisted pull-up machine or a lat pull-down, but these just don't really cut it because you're taking out all of the necessary core stability that you need to then go on and progress to better pull-ups. Yes, you'll get stronger lats, but your pull-up strength won't necessarily improve. The better way to go is actually to use band-assisted pull-ups. There's a couple of ways you can do these. The usual way is to find a relatively strong band, and obviously the thicker the band, the more help it's going to give you, and attach it to your pull-up bar like so. You're going to put both feet in the band because we want to try and mimic as closely as possible to the technique that we're going to use when we start doing unassisted pull-ups. So now you can stick with that band until you're able to do 8 to 10 pull-ups. Then you can obviously change out the band for a lighter one. If you only have 1 or 2 bands, there is another way you can set up the band to allow you to modulate the resistance a little bit more. So this involves setting up the band across the squat rack. So now not only can you modulate the resistance by changing the band, but you can also change the height of the band as well. So obviously the higher the band goes, the more help it's going to give you. So how many pull-ups should you perform? Well, this is going to ultimately depend on what your goals are. If you're trying to develop more strength, then you want to use a lighter band, use less repetitions with more sets. If you want more of a bodybuilding approach, gaining muscle mass, mid-range, so maybe around about 8 to 10 repetitions, 3 to 5 sets with about a 60 to 90 second rest in between each set. And if you want more strength endurance, then you would increase the number of repetitions, increase the assistance that you're getting, so a stronger band, for example. You also want to decrease the total number of sets, and decrease the amount of rest time that you have between sets too. So there is a caveat here, because if you do want to progress to doing completely unassisted pull-ups, then obviously you have to develop a certain level of strength in order to do that. So it would be counterproductive to stick with a heavy band and doing 15-20 reps on a heavy band, when you'll get much more benefit from reducing the assistance, doing less repetitions and perhaps more sets. Now don't worry about trying to remember all of this, because I'm going to put this all in a program for you right now. So the other thing we're including in our program are some accessory exercises. So these are exercises that are going to not only help build the strength in the prime movers for the pull-ups, in other words your back and your arms, but all those other stabilizing muscles too. So your shoulder stabilizers, your core and your hips. In addition to the assisted pull-ups, there are obviously some other great exercises that will help to build that strength as well. And while lat pull downs don't necessarily correlate to overall pull-up strength, they still can be quite useful with one small adaptation. These kneeling pull downs really do help to activate the core muscles in a similar way to the pull-ups. So this is a great way to build more strength and add some variety to your training program as well. I would also recommend adding in inverted rows. Inverted rows are a really great way to develop strength through your mid and lower traps. So these are muscles that are really highly activated during a pull-up. These face pulls are a great way to help develop better shoulder, upper back and rotator cuff strength. Scapular pull-ups. So the scapular pull-up is essentially a way to train that initiating movement in your pull-ups. So keep your feet together, create some tension through your legs and your abs, and then simply pull from your shoulder blades. Now this is just a way to train this movement. In the pull-up itself, we don't actually want to come all the way down until our arms come to our ears. We actually want to keep that little bit of tension, that little bit of depression of the shoulder blades all the way through. So good scapular control is really essential for great pull-ups. Next, we're going to look at hollow holds. So these are an awesome core exercise that kind of mimic that hanging position, or the muscles that are active in the hanging position of your pull-ups. So really working that core. These are really easy to progress just by moving your legs slightly lower down, always remembering to keep your lower back flat to the floor and maximum tension in your abs. Next, we're looking at single arm pull downs. So using a single pulley at the gym, these are a great way to help iron out any imbalances from left arm to right arm. So if you follow the program below, I guarantee that you'll see amazing results in the speed at which you can progress those pull-ups. If you'd like to take part in the little 30-day challenge, then download the PDF below. I want you to enter onto the PDF the date, where you're at right now, so in other words, how many pull-ups can you do? And I want you to set yourself a target, 30 days, how many pull-ups would you like to be able to do? Then you're going to plug in the workout sessions you're going to complete each week. Bearing in mind that there is an optimal level of workouts per week. If you're only able to do one session per week, you're really not going to progress that quickly. So try to push yourself for this next month and let's really get on top of those pull-ups. I'd really like to hear your progress. So comment in the comments box below. Let me know how many pull-ups you can do right now. And I want to hear from you again in 30 days to see your progress. And finally, before I go, I'd really appreciate it if you could like the video, and if you would consider subscribing, that would be awesome too. It costs you nothing, but it really does help me to get in front of more people and to grow my channel. So you'd be supporting me for sure. Okay, so until next time, stay well, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon.